Good morning. We start with Lama Tsongkhapa Guru Yoga from the small booklet. From the heart of the Savior of 100 deities of Tushita, on a peak of cloud resembling a clam of extremely white fresh curd, King of Dhamma, omniscient Losandrapa, please come here together with your sons. In the sky before me, on a lion throne, lotus and moon, my perfect pure Guru smiles with delight. Supreme field of merit for my mind of faith, please abide for 100 years to spread the teachings. Extremely white fresh curd. King of Dhamma, omniscient Losandrapa, please come here together with your sons. In the sky before me, on a lion, on lotus and moon, my perfect pure Guru smiles with delight. Supreme field of merit. Okay. Your holy mind has the intelligence that understands to full extent of objects to be known. Your holy speech with its excellent explanations is an ear ornament for those of good fortune. Your holy body is radiantly beautiful with glory renowned. To you who are meaningful to see, hear, and remember, I prostrate. Pleasing drinking water, various flowers, fragrant incenses, light, scented waters, and so forth, oceans of cloud-like offerings, both actually arranged and mentally emanated, I offer to you the supreme field of merit. Whatever non-virtue of body, speech, and mind, especially those opposite to the three vows that I have collected from beginningless time, I confess each and every one with fervent regret from my heart. You strove for much learning and practice in this degenerate age, and made your freedoms and richnesses meaningful. By abandoning the eight worldly concerns, Saviour, we sincerely rejoice in your extensive deeds. Perfect pure holy Gurus, from the billowing clouds of wisdom and compassion in the sky of the Dharmakaya, please let fall a rain of profound and extensive Dharma upon the receptacle of those to be subdued exactly as they need. May whatever virtue I have collected benefit the teachings and all transmigratory beings, and in particular may it cause the essence of perfect pure Losandrapa's teachings to shine forever. Saji Buki Chuji Medok Dramari Rabling Ni de Di Sange Jindu Mi de Ulwa Hidrokunamadak Shilai Chuparshu. By the merits of having offered this mandala to Lama Tsongkhapa and his two sons, may I, my family members, and all sentient beings be able to meet, practice, and actualize the teachings of the victorious one Losang Drapa, who had a morality of an eminently pure way of life, was courageous in the extensive conduct of the sons of the victorious ones, and accomplished the yoga of the two stages of supreme bliss and emptiness. Idam Guru Ratna Mandalakam Niryatayami. By the force of having fervently requested in this way, hollow beams of white light are emitted from the hearts of the perfect pure Father and Sons, and combining into one enter my crown. White nectar, the color of milk, flows from the opening of the tube of white light, cleansing all my sicknesses, spirit harms, negative karmas, obscurations, and their imprints without exception. My body becomes as pure and clear as crystal. Now we recite 5-line Miktsema 3 times. Mikme tsewe te chen chen re sik drime gyempe wampo jampe liang dupo malu jonze sangwe dak ganchen gepe tsungen tsong kapa lo san drape shabla sowa dem Mikme tsewe te chen chen re sik Dreamek yempe wampo jampe liang dupo malu jonze sanwe dak kanchen gepe tsungen tsongkapa lo san drape shabla solwaide Mikme tsewe terchen chen resik Dreamek yempe wampo jampe liang Dupo malu jonze sangwe dak ganchen kepe tsungen tsongkapa lo san drape shabla sowade.
Sangye Chedang Zogjin Chongnung La Chanchu Pardu Dan Gyabsun Daki Chushe Gyabanda Daki Rolampen Sanjin Drupara Sho Sangye Chedang Zogjin Chongnung La Chanchu Pardu Dan Gyabsun Daki Chushe Gyabanda Daki Rolampen Sanjin Drupara Sho Sangye Chedang Zogjin Chongnung La Chanchu Pardu Dan Gyabsun Daki Chushe Gyabanda Daki Roland Pesce Sanjin Drupara Sho Kanki Tuzi Nizoni Tabatamchi Pambish Tambichun Tenzi Kodam Tela Chanze Lo Shishin Kyongun Javi Lo Drutu Kesanawe Genju Leishis Tabi Peche Lame Zevi Tonde Tembe Tonden La Chanze Namalaye Kedna Luda Nojik Tribon Dada Miye Kenam Drokun Jitano Chizam Tamji Kedu Dagi Chuten To Good morning everyone. Yeah, yeah. Shokbadili, Dudela. Yes. Kazi nganzu ngeng sa pasang shokiti tsama nyoto ro cha sons.
Listen.
Tiwa di ara tremandu rache.
So in the previous session on Friday, it seems we had a quite boring session. We have lots of difficulty in understanding the questions and so on and so forth.
Kab tudi tanda kunzu ki dakjin demi kabdu rosh resha ta ro. Ani kunzu chik ani tsejing simjin la ya mikchi ni. Ani samtang kwa se tsejing chi kwa kare se tiwa chik tizo rosh tenso ra. Iriwes ra. Ngi du samtang tanda ngi peche loya choma dayna. Tinangla ya tseme gongya jira, tseme shi gongwa digi, tseme bi simjinla miksaya digi, tseme ba di, ani tsejinla ya gyursha mendo raja, ngara ngara semla dini raja, course on the machines ra
Yes.
madot chik sejing simjin la ya ani chamba gom said da zao ni ni de yong ya ju dum rem da ra
No.
ke sik din nor ba na che me bala simjin che me bala me bi chamba de nin ji gom dang di ani sejing sim sejing e jing simjin la me ko se zo de samjal sik gyur dan di yong sik ra ra
So I think there was a question regarded with the self-generation practice probably, and it was mentioned that there's a line which goes that may I kind of liberate a limited sentient being, something like that. So of course, in this session, there is a practice to generate four limitless minds. And with regard to that, probably the original word may be a reference to a limitless sentient beings. However, it might have been translated into limited sentient beings.
inda traveling marves ra
Yes. So now if you have any other questions.
maybe page she have questions. Yeah, no.
Okay, if no one has question, then I'll ask question. Keshala, teacher, shopadalek, tutunla. So like so the more I get into this this practices, I feel like my life is turning into always making offerings, which I love. You know, it's just offerings. I do every action with of mind of offering. And I was really hoping to find out more about the mandala offerings, the long mandala and the mandala offerings. And also like when you do these like mudras, like do I need to be initiated to do them or can I just learn it, copy people or like how? Like 'cause even in Yungnai you do all this, but I just make up in my mind. So I make my own mudra. That's how I've been doing it. But yeah, I just wanted to find out like how can we learn about long mandalas and mudras to go with the offering. Tukta Chayang.
Tanda tiyo diri shikila. Tam moran tanda nanchungi nyamli kola tunang chevi kapsla dinanglo la anzu choba piya ki mangbuji yora titola tunang chigi yus. Ani choba piya ki dinang mangbuji yubi nanglo ni tanda anzu mendre piya chi yora, mendre duba da jeba. Ani mendre duba da jeba piya kapla anzu lakpa ki ko chaji chiya chi yora, choba ki di chiya la yang inchi mi chi wang rabu chi togu yorbe yang na mi shenpa zane ko chakchi chidang de susu takta chi jang chi dagaran chi shan digi yorbe.
다른 제시 리뷰서스.
Yes.
라. 간지 류기 아니 류가 익섬기 그것선도겠지. 라. 자자세 소 천된지에 연구를라 소다 아니 류기직 야 그것선도겠지. 조고에도 백해시 못하고 서레스.
So you can kind of do the mudras by learning from people directly. And the most important thing is that you have to make sure that they represent some kind of reverence and respect So the whole idea of doing mudra is to represent our aspect of body, speech, and mind.
다 개체슈 디 저바 가르친 표기열 세트. 라 저바 가르친 표기열 세트 데레 도스로 지단 저바다 먼저 출력 참을록 라 넘버 점마리 아니지 출력 현대신 참을록에 아니 controller choba medo la sobata tindi tsama yungu dosero chatsiela so yungu yorasro
However, the most important thing is to know why you are making this offering, the purpose behind this making offering. It's really crucial to know that. Otherwise, the simple act of offering is common to many other religious traditions as well. And in other traditions, there is the practice of offering flowers to their respective gods or worshiping them. So that is common to all traditions.
에다 디 케바 약부지 제투바이나 테니 간주 choba pya dia 아니 지 choba tsammayin ba 지 난추 냠내 ngolaya rotuyachi 디 yungu wasra 아니 지 남베 choba pya chulu shen ki choba pya tolaya 케바 카리요메 디시 온디 아니 난추 디 아니 chulu shen da mandra야기 아니 케바 카리요메 인지미 간주 난추디 야가리 인슬라고 에스케요 말았어. 야가레스 라고요 말았어. 임바이나야 난추다 출루셴라야 케바 가리요메. 케바디 야부지 체투고 임바이나 아니 소소 아니 출루 가르치고 요메. 가르치바이나 아니 소소라야 펜도 가리요메. 딘통투게 지용사로 왔어.
So if you are able to understand the difference, differences between the offerings that we practice in Buddhist tradition and in other religious tradition, then not only you will be able to understand that difference, but also you will also understand how Buddhism is different from other religious tradition as well. We're not basically talking about how Buddhism is better than other religious tradition, but rather we need to understand how it is different from other religious traditions. So when you have a very clear understanding about the demarcations between these religious traditions, then it will also help us to kind of adopt whatever practices is suitable for you.
데르다 자란서 처음에서 등이 대단 데비토네마 아니 삼서 가시 쉬죠. 아니 자란서 빠라리에 저 텐소마나 아니 갑도 라와 장로시스.
So since right now, since you do not have any other questions, I will speak few words about the offering. But in case you come up with some other questions, you can raise your hand and ask the questions.
베나 차체교라서 차체 초보풀 세트 용거도서 차체 온디 릉아 이스음권의 차체단지 용거도서 개체슈디 아니 이기 차체야지 이기 차체야지 차고레스 남바산지위 최기 내든 체슈디 이기 토니다 삼단지레마도 아니 르다가 그거는 지 간드무 가르치대 봐야냐 되게 샘래야 요진 로마토 봐야나 남바산지위 최디 차금도 왔으라 다 아니 이기 토네 삼로당 통이진 봐야나 아니 릉아기 아니 자와체 툭장로 마툭장로 케바스케 연구요 말했어. 맨날 난추고 돌아야로. 맨날 아니 가시기 아니 라기 차게 추자 내 연구하다. 파다디드 인지부터 저러되냐. 샘 나온거 비sam로 땅땅 체로지 말로나 가시 샘그 sam로 땅 무등에 들려라. 딘지 임바이나 아니 지 리그 남주 가르때 대바이나야. 다 지진의 개와지던 로스게를 마도 아니 난 오늘 잔내기 난추 냠랭 ngulayan droyadi 근데 이 코랑 돈 샘 코랑 돈 삼당 거다스라 딘자 샘 돈 삼당 투서 제라 아니 난추 남다치 제토야지 연구여라스라
So when we're talking about making offerings or making prostrations, for instance, all of these practices involve prostrations of body, speech, and mind. And among them, of course, the prostration of body and speech is important, but the most important thing among them is the prostration of a mind, because so long as there is no change and transformations at the mental level, then all other practices associated with body and speech somehow becomes less significant. For instance, you might see somebody who is doing very beautiful kind of hand mudras while reciting something, but if there is no transformation at the level of the mind, then all of these mudras are somehow pointless. You might be accumulating some merit, but at the whole, you're not really serving the purpose of Buddhist practice. So, therefore, we must focus more on the transformation of the mind. And if there is transformation of the mind, then all the practice that we engage will become significant and Buddhist practice.
드리베나 넘버 산지 위다 추냠랭 그 림바도 시바이나 아니 림바 당부디 베나 메기 주분 그 수좀 송야 되는다스라 메기 주분 그 수좀 송이 그거 쪼디 아니 깨워니 깨워 균치니 아니 미르덴식 토비야기 규 쪼라야 삼당가다스라 아 메기 주분 그 수좀 기 짜와디 아니 샘을 투거레스 로 샘라야지 아니 되차시다 나슴 노슴라 소바 lokdala soba ching de devaina ani lyug phi kar dom devaina ya ani kewa chima dendro mel ki gyundro sedi shindun kal khawras ro ta lunga ki chawa khan che mache bada che mathu wala soba chongbaina ya yila ya dom goya de dom baina 나섬 노섬 로달로 소바지 무기 주본 지 아니 삼기 장 지어스 그 삼만로 dom신이 지 아니 게섬지 토라야 상당 투바이나 베나 게섬스나다 배차자반 지 섬자 탐전 단념이 바도지 탐전도 대바다 동감문 대바 직버려와 삼성 삼로 대섬지 아니 십사부지 땅바이나 깨워치면 물리 토백이 규푸숨 소바지 교주고도 하세요 딘즈 쪼 샘라랄 때바지
So when we talk about Buddhist practice in general, there are many different levels, many different steps, and all of them really starts from practicing the 10 virtuous deeds. So there is the foundation of them, and the whole purpose of the 10 virtuous deed is really to accumulate merit to attain favorable human rebirth in the next life. And yet again here, when you do the 10 virtuous deed, the most important thing is to practice these at the level of the mind. If you have kind of sense of if you practice them at the level of the mind, so physically you may not be engaging much, you may not be doing much, but if you are practicing them at the mind by refraining from harboring wrong views, refraining from harboring malicious intention and so on and so forth, then you are basically accumulating the merit. You are doing the practices. But on the other hand, you may not be physically engaged in many practices, but at the level of the mind, if you are still having negative thoughts, then it's really difficult to accumulate the merit and to serve the purpose of the practice.
먼저 물리 토비 거든 소디 아니 남주 페이지 쳐야 돼 인사레스. 로 랭니 남바지비 남주 페이지 쳐야지. 베는 류 남규 가리 임바 가리 차야라 소바디 돈로 숨잖아 임바이나 랍니 콘주 신기어라서 베는 미 깨도지 뭐냐 아니 랍나 깨잡 신기어라다로 임바이나야 미 삼로 당당 줘라 베나 삼로 당당 지금 잔념 임바다 아니 딘디기 지금 삼로 당당디 아니 돈로 숨잖아 랍아이나 자세 자탐바 랍투야 페시 요마로스로 다 밀디요라다 tinza chi sosu netan khanda jimba ya dinji chi namje pheje chen samlo tang thuye yobati hajang kita ani sa chimbu jimba chik o disha ni tinji namju de bet ani kazu todo ya ge tang ya chedo tini ani cha tsere ani choba phuyare o dinji samtan rogo dasara penang az tanda choba de choba phyondi rangi ani ya zu ran la ya dabi ani chi gyubenjolo sobadi kunjola ya phuya derasra ti phuyondi zoji karsilanda ani tela chabi chaba dogorada nyumu dogoyorada ra nyumu rangi gyuji chagdan nyumu doya gichedo ani tsultrim songuyori jembatanguyori ani choba phuguyores 공용 딘디지 매바이나 가르모가 가르퓨 대바이나야 미 랜드 체진 아니 나마산지 최단 데와스케 차그 마르스 공용 디 매바이나
Yes. And I think the whole purpose of the human life, precious human life that we found, is to make sure that we utilize our unique intelligence that we have, because that's what differentiates us from other species. For instance, if we are simply talking about the level of the level of the physical act, even many animals can in fact imitate human language, imitate human kind of actions. So our language and our actions simply can't differentiate us from other species. What differentiates us from other species is our ability to think and our intelligence, such as how we are equal and the fundamental equality among all sentient beings. So these are a few unique things that really differentiate us from other species, and we must try our best to further improve and make progress in this and expand our intelligence. And for the purpose of expanding that intelligence, then we are engaging in other practices such as making offerings and making prostrations and so on and so forth. So far as the making offering is concerned, we are basically making offerings to Buddha and other objects of veneration. And the whole purpose of making offering is to reduce our attachment towards our own possession and towards our own wealth. And when we make offerings, we are basically try to minimize and to reduce the afflictive emotions. And for that purpose, we also engage not only in making offerings, but also engage in the practice of morality, making offerings, generosity, and so on and so forth. So here the motivation is the key. Our key motivation should be to reduce afflictive emotions. If we have that intent or that motivation, then our practices will become significant. Otherwise, if we lack that motivation, then whatever practice that we might be engaging, it somehow becomes pointless.
Pena menda jeban halala ya chi ri jabo rib an chi ta yong so ba ya pyu se sik ji do sra imba yin ya so so ran na ya so so la da bi ji gomu chi imba yin ya zawa ni pyu ma thung yin ji ge ani pyu menda jebe ge sik di ka zu tyen chi de ba yin ya ani choba pyu la ya ndro se di kal kha gore da sra choba pyu le tong gore le tong ji che gore da 소소라 왕위에 지금 당요 변은 고무직 순전에 자원이니 아니 표 마통에 지기 아니 멘더 제바드 가수 때 바이나야 아니 처버 표비 배요 톱도 못도 세디 독발해도 하스라
For instance, when we do the long mandala offering, in the long mandala, there is in the reference to making offerings of the entire cosmos, including the Mount Meru and so on and so forth. So basically, you're visualizing to offer the entire cosmos. But on the practical level, if you can't even offer $1 which you possess, so from your possession, if you can't spend or make offering even $1, then how many times you recite the long mandala offering, it is difficult to say that you kind of accumulate some merit, because when we make the offerings, of course we have to make some kind of sacrifices from the possessions that we have. So therefore, it's also equally important to think that from the practical level of how much really you can offer.
디기다 고버치 디 칸스나 랑 주지 아니 착삼 도야게 쳇 착삼 뽕야게 쳇 짐바땅 거였는데 처버 피야디 고버치 찍디 세나다 아니 뇌샬 소바 도빅 쳇드레도 하스 빵빅 쳇 아니 랑라 다비 ngo불야 아니 세나다 착삼 그 징체 자원인의 르마다니 아니 지 소소람 마타바 소소람 마왕비기 아니 제지기 민표니 아니 표기인스 랍데바이나 아니 깍전 소리제 자기도 하스라 근데 깍전 시엔다 저 남다지 자기 여바나 아니 저디다 캔자로 자기도 하스라 딘즈 딘디기 아니 삼루타니 피기 내든 돌아 삼당 투바이나 아니 쳐버지 피바이나야 베 랍쳔보 저 남다 차야지 니문비 님불이야 조등행기 아니 자와지 차바나 디 쳐레스 라 니문라야 네비기 자와지 제마도나 가르무고 가르쳐 대바이나야 enge samna namba sanji bi chure mendos
So, so when we engage in the practices of offerings or generosity or morality or whatever practice we are doing, the primary objective is to tackle or to reduce afflictive emotions such as attachment, miserliness, and so on and so forth. So when we particularly make offerings, we should make offerings from the possessions that we have. And if you can't even sacrifice a small thing from your own possessions, then and then when you do the mandala offering, if you simply doing the offerings, visualizing to offerings which things you don't own, then such practices or such things might become even hypocritical, because on the practical level you're not even spending $1, but you are simply visualizing to make offer the entire cosmos. So that won't become a real practice. Therefore, when you make offerings or whatever practices you are engaging, it's really crucial to make sure that the practices become somehow like an antidote or remedy to some form of afflictive emotions.
Teni 직 다 매바이나 소소를 매바이나 당한 딘디지여반 당의 꾼절을 표사라 삼비지 꼴홍 딘디야 삼만남다 깨쳐고도서라 다 딘디 까블야 아니 직 소수 아니 이 유튜브 토네 아니 초바 표바이나 아니 초바디 양다고 로고여레스
And then sometimes we may not have the, we may not possess many things to offer, but we think that, well, if I have this, I will definitely make offerings. So in such cases, we can make offerings, what is known as the mentally emanated offerings. You mentally visualize the offerings.
딘자들이다 도르드나 뉴물라 네고르세디 남산지비 치우겠다 다 연하면은 뉴무 방걸 세드레스 로 뉴무 방발라 뉴무 원전 치고다 나 수수줄에 뉴무 칸드스 끼기여메 직 차당 뉴무 칸드스 끼기여메 어디 로 랑기 줄에야 차당 뉴무 칸드스 끼기여메다 아니 차당 뉴무 디 칼드니 끼기여메다 대방 고원디 지 아니 님부 칸드스 때니 고고여메 다 장야 됐다 개체슈이 됐더랬어 디 아니 남주 코랑 토니 장고를 마도 아니 리비 토니 장요 말이다 나기 토니 피기다 칙 심치네 아니 칙도나 삼tan 대약 체도 아니 칙딘디 로르선 야다 나 페이지 체저 마도 젬바 남주 코랑 토니 아니 페이지 체고도서 미 남주 대미 남주 코나레 마도 아니 돈로기 아니 남주 토니 딘디 삼tan 투고문도서 딘상간도 딘지 남주 켜버진지 여버다 오늘 단에다 까와 삼고레샤 삼 딘지 남주들 등이 엔데 톨라만도 제치는 게 배주치기 삼바이나다 남산기비 최버소를 차고 버렸더라
So, to summarize, the whole purpose of making offerings or whatever practices that we are engaging, the whole purpose is to um, reduce or to minimize the afflictive emotions, and we must try to eliminate the afflictive emotions. And in order to eliminate the afflictive emotions, first we must be able to recognize the afflictive emotions and how they are generated in our mind. So after recognizing the afflictive emotions and how they are, how they arises in our mind, then we will be able to apply antidote to eliminate them. And the whole process of identifying and later eliminating the afflictive emotions should come at the level of the mind. So all of them are practice of mind, basically. So they can't happen at the level of the body. They can't happen at the level of the speech, although we can use speech to express and to describe about afflictive emotions. But the main practice of eliminating them should happen at the level of the mind. Therefore, at the level of the mind or intellect, we must feel very fortunate to have this kind of brilliant intelligence to think about this, and that is what differentiates us from other species, including the animals. They can't even think about applying antidote to eliminate afflictive emotions. So therefore, we must feel fortunate about possessing this unique intelligence and try to make try to kind of utilize this intelligence to flourish ourselves.
딘자다 남바지긴 바이나 남바다 남바 다 센텐스 랍셔가지라 임바이나 다 메지 간살라 지금 롬니를 소리 차고 다서라 간선 장네 안주 메시지 나눠라야 장네 아니 차로야지 담문도 왔어요. 아니 차리야 매바지 장니다 다 메주서 차리야 매바 장 펜도 가리어스 러브 시그레스래. 이만이야 존타 메비 롭존 텔야 롭존 첸 데바이나 아니 메시기 텐다디 틴좀 쪽이었어요.
So in this regard, we can say that if you are a genuine Buddhist practitioner, you must consider yourself as a student for your entire life, because because um, we will never kind of the subject that we need to learn about the transformation is inexhaustible. Therefore, we must dedicate our entire life, keep studying and keep improving.
저 가주기 비기게 아니 띵사보 우유니술 디 가주스 장바인바이네 두주기 미신 디난성당외나 셈바기와 용도 왔으라 가주스 비기 우유니술 우빈닐루 아니 지 도서 가주스 장토바이나야 두주기 아니 랑기 남주디 갸체르도 그랬어 갸체르도 남주 가주스 갸체르도 디저기 지 아니 네급 그 참만디와 가리 용바들이야 동네 제도야지 그 남의 땅 도야지 그 남의 땅 도야는 다가란 게 당한 소리야 디기래도 하서라 남의 땅 마도바나 동아래도다 참만디비 내소지 만주 메세나와 가도이나 용용 받아저래 델 동네 치마도 델 남의 땅 마도바나 디 동아래스 델 남의 땅 동네 제도야디 랑게 남주 갸체르 땅에 데레마도 젬바가야만도 하서라 남주 갸치를 땅에 탑시 찍어버디 무비 내룩 장애들이었다. 무여 내수 덴바 장den세 텔레야 롭종 가즈 제도 디속에 남주도 갸치를 조고였으라서라 따다더니 아니 다 라마 게위싱이 다 삼기 메게버도 속이 아니 꾸지 로르기를 지 상담하나 꾸지 강볼이야 아니 롭종친 공개 롭종치 상담 쉬고여라서라
So the more we deepen our understanding of what is known as the reality, it will in fact contribute for our own peace of mind. Um, and of course, we are bound to face many challenges in our life. And the best way to kind of counteract such challenges is to use our intelligence. And if we deepen our understanding, deepen our kind of wisdom, then we will be able to face such challenges. We will be able to eliminate, or rather ignore, temporary challenges, because they're bound to happen. And we will be able to get the kind of intelligence to face such challenges. And we will be able to only do that through developing, or rather improving, our intelligence. So by knowing about the reality, we will be able to face challenges with less kind of difficulty. Therefore, for that purpose, we have to keep studying, we have to keep learning. If you look at the biographies of great masters, you will find that they have spent and dedicated their entire life learning, studying, and meditation.
가정안주다 자도르무지 대표니 아니 가슈 딘디 야부시 토바라 왔으라 아니 rumbuchi ta kungus je songus te 아니 다 송주도 나온데 답bet 아니 탐지 캠버랑 서르스 당아지 제기도 왔어 이면은 콩인바이나 가주스 아니 당한 님었다고 섬살을 제고 님었다고 로존난 것도 왔으라 아니 니게 콩이야 차드브틴디 퓨바인스 나도 게르무치 송샤비기 텐디티빈 데와저 공을 피워야 쉬우 펜도 총송스 아니 가지 죽으면 안 지원데 단단가 참아 살마송스 뒤스 덴지기 아니 공부여되네 빠라빠라 땡친 뒤스 땡친 아니 록체 아니 어디는 난가도 왔어라 그래서 간서 도지도 인데 인지민지 때네 아니 장 고야지 라 무지거는 장 대고야지 그래도 왔어라 남산지위 때추 야채선신 딘지지레스라
Yes. For instance, recently we had we are very fortunate and blessed to receive teachings from His Eminence Chador Rinpoche. And when we listen to his teachings, we can in fact see how learned he is. And he's in fact such an erudite scholar. But still, I visit him on the daily basis.
Tangas.
Hello?
Hello. Yep.
Hello, Diparuki. Yes. So I also gave him a copy of the commentary on Lama Tsongkhapa's text in praise of the dependent origination, and he really found the commentary very helpful and often take the time in his. Yes. So the commentary was written by Khenso Rinpoche, my immediate teacher. So he often make the time, despite his busy schedule, to read the commentary, and later told me that he found this commentary really beneficial and helpful. So the point is that even though he is such an erudite scholar, he still keeps learning and studying. And then, of course, so far as the ordinary beings are concerned, we must also try to follow the same steps.
Tinza, the Nanju Jangi in Bayana, Nanju, only Nanju Tona Chi in Bayana, and it Toma Kichi, and it Dembashi, Jom Dendigra, Dembashi, Sonyer, that Dembashi Zambitoni, Teni, and the Nanchulaya, Jukoyach, Sadun to touch any Mansu Tommy, Chik Paminima, Chik Nanchu the Deva Medingi, Mijin Bayana, Telikang, Teni Dembashi Tony, and in Nanchulaya Chik. Juktubayana, the one nigga, the number 10 inch, Nanju Yanta Wanyamni Chinging, Mich Chagres.
So if you are someone who's deeply interested in Buddhism, then we should start from the Four Noble Truth, which Buddha taught, and we should start our practices from the Four Noble Truth, and particularly if you are someone who is not kind of traditionally a non-Buddhist, and then later try to embrace Buddhism, in such cases, it's even more important to start from the Four Noble Truth. So based on the understanding of the Four Noble Truth, then if you enter or if you start the practices, then definitely it will become very significant.
덴바지기 돈만 상직 당원디 되니 아니 동거 그자와디 뉴무임바디 아니 야샤자다바라 트투야치 로 학는데 자직 로종 그체야 부영행이 미지기 아니 덴지기 돈 상다네 동거 그자와디 뉴무임바디 아니 라지 트바이나 되니 뉴무 판디기 로직이 살아왔으라 또 뉴무 판디기 로디 코닐랑치네 되니 아니 gewichawa kandra chigi imbayana ta di nangchures.
Yes. So when we try to understand the path based on the Four Noble Truth, we will be able to recognize that the root of all suffering is in fact the afflictive emotions. And if you want to get rid of the sufferings that we don't want, we must eliminate the afflictive emotions. Therefore, the afflictive emotions, the negative thoughts, are responsible for all the sufferings and all the troubles. Therefore, we must try to eliminate the afflictive emotions. So once you understand that the afflictive emotions are responsible for all the sufferings, and by understanding that, when you develop a strong sense of wish to eliminate the afflictive emotions, then all of our practices will become a practice of Buddhist. If you have that intention to eliminate afflictive emotions, then whatever virtuous act you are engaging, it will become a significant practice.
데리다 뉴무 판디기 로직 마키나 뉴무 세비기 세바 타르바 되니기 로직이 말했어. 라 타르바 되니기 로직이 말했어. 타르바 되니기 로 메바이나 인종 삼바세디요 말했어. 인종 삼비 마슴 바이나 아니 계란기 동바 질랑 바이나야 디 아니 소더기 동바 차고 말했어. 소더기 수름 차고 말했어. 수름 송기 바이나야 메기 주봉 수름 송기 말나 수름 쌈 송거리 말도 디 소더기 수름 차고 말했어. 그 넘버 산기비 넘버 좀된 디기 송샤비기 술점디 차고 말했어.
So, if we lack the motivation to eliminate afflictive emotions, then we won't be able to generate the mind of attaining liberation. And if that is lacking, then we don't also have the mind of renunciation, because the mind of renunciation comes from the intention to attain liberation, and the intention to attain liberation in turn comes from the intention to eliminate afflictive emotions. If we lack the motivation, if we lack the mind of renunciation, then even if we take a precept of the morality, that precept will not become a practice of individual liberation. It may become simply a very general kind of a practice of morality, but it won't become a practice of Buddhist morality if you lack the motivation of the mind of renunciation.
당 인종 그 삼바 당 뉴무 판디 그 삼바다 뉴무 세베 되니 그 돈바 당 인종 그 삼바 딘디지 매바이나 아니 산지 좀된 데려야 대바체 바이나야 캡스 드바이나야 디 아니 넘버 산지비 비긴 주고 캡도 남다 차야 신든 깔래 가고래도 하스라 좀된 데려야 가오징이 망보여라 이네야 디 참아 넘버 임빙 예바요 말하다 다 뉴무 센드 로직기 뉴무 세비 세바디 톰드 로직기 디토발야 람데신지 말아바디 다 산기 콩그 땡거래 삼진데 데니 산기를 캡순 줘봐이나 다 디캡으로 남다 차고레스
Yes. Then, even if we practice um, refuge, if we lack the renunciation, then our refuge practice will not become a genuine practice. For instance, there are many people who admire Buddha, and simply admiring him is kind of not same as going for refuge to Buddha. So the refuge to Buddha should come from understanding that afflictive emotions are something that we should avoid, and with the motivation of eliminating the afflictive emotion and attaining liberation. Then when you realize that it's only Buddha who can show us the path towards the liberation, and in order to attain that, now you go for refuge to Buddha. Then if you have that kind of mind, then our practices of going for refuge will become a genuine refuge practice.
Nimu sebi tab dungingi ani temba ta di sanji konale kyabs drogi inslabana di wish samba chagores di nguye nizu chagores ro nimu sebi seba dungingi temba ani sanji chomden di konale kyabs drogi insadi di wish samba chagores kansana nimu sebi tab shinji malo dungingi temba di sanji chomden di konare modo 아니 출룩시행 tempo 수치게 송금해 봤어. 송금해 봤어. 그 송에 산지 코나라. 디 니무세비 탑이 여바디 아니 온숨도 생이데 산지 코나레 모두 생기 생매 봤어. 이걸 계제 생매 봤어. 딘자 디 생이 디 싱에 디 코나라 기압 주세디 고 의시 삼방 의내서든 돈바지 레도 왔어. 딘자 딘디 기압으로 식당 안줄래야. 여바이나 딘이다 다 넘버 yang taba sayadres, number one res, right?
So when we go for refuge to Buddha, we must kind of practice the refuge by understanding that Buddhas, in fact, show us the path to eliminate afflictive emotions, and it is Buddha is the only teacher who could show us the path to liberation. So in this regard, if we go for refuge to Buddha, it will become meaningful, because no other teacher taught us the kind of path, or rather the means and method of eliminating and uprooting the afflictive emotions. It's only Buddha who taught us the path towards liberation and path to eliminate afflictive emotions. So by understanding that it is only Buddha who shows the path, and because of that, we seek refuge to Buddha. Then that refuge practice will become a genuine kind of practice or genuine refuge.
단 니무 세비게 탑 마송디 송들야 다 름바니 레바라스라. 아니 도당가 름바니 레바레스. 아니 도드 송디 아니 점된디 아니 gelong기 넘버 첸체니 아니 송바디 라 조비게 따직 소다르기 동바 아니 gelong 남다기 아니 ngōnglaya shingchene sōngdi ndōd sōngda asarwa. Ani gyawa doji changi chogu chugi nōba gyawa doji changi ngōnglaya shāni sōngdi ani ngāt sōngu yores. Tenza ndōya kapsu chidangi nyumu pambigi tab tenpa mato chik nganzu nidongi tset dagarangi tolaya ani chik nyumu panju yebigi tab shinji malabadi song yo marwas. Ta gyawa doji changi kuli ya shangchi ni ani gyu ngak song di teni 니든고 세동 지금 나눠라야 아니 디페 빵토에 탑신지 말아봐 땡 여러 왔어 교보 빵토에 탑식 땡 여러 왔어 땡서 디 데르다 뉴무 빵도고 로지 뉴무 빵비기 탑신지 말아봐 땡에디 땡바 코인바디 아니 녜바니 땡서 뉴무 빵비셔도 땡바 코이야 껴스 로 테니다 뉴무다 지 니동고 세 통 다가란 거 돌이야. 아니 뉴무 빵비기 쳐도 되니 아니 야와도지 장기 송기 있다. 교 나라야. 아니 냠린 치기 인삼비기다. 고노 덴디치 여바나다. 다 되니 냠린 가리네 치투고 여레스. 치초고 여레스로.
So, so when Buddha taught the means of eliminating the afflictive emotions, his teachings can be categorized into two parts. The first one is what is known as the Sutra, and the second one is known as the Tantra. So Buddha taught the teachings associated with Sutra in the form of a fully ordained monk, whereas when he taught the Tantra, he taught in the form of Vajradhara or Supreme Emanation Buddha. So, of course, in Sutra, he revealed many practices of eliminating the afflictive emotions and attaining liberation, the Buddhahood. But what makes the teachings of Tantra unique is that in Tantra, he taught how an individual practitioner can eliminate all forms of afflictive emotions and attain Buddhahood in one single lifetime. So that is what defines the practice of Tantra. So in the practice of Tantra, an individual practitioner can in fact eliminate afflictive emotions and attain liberation within a short span of one lifetime. So with the motivation of either eliminating the afflictive emotions or attaining kind of Buddhahood in this short lifespan, with that motivation, whatever practices you engage, it will become a genuine practice.
데스당이 뉴무든 교보 빵고도 삼긴기 로직 메나 되니 나라야 냠네 치네 나기 냠네 치비 고버드야디 백갈 가버린다스라.
So if you are a practitioner of Tantra, then you should have at least the intention that to eliminate the afflictive emotions as soon as possible. So if you lack that urgency to eliminate the afflictive emotions, then our practices of Tantra will not become significant.
데스 딘지기 로기야기 체도 가르쳐서나 딘지 돌아야 상당고 그랬어. 딘지 돌아야 가즈 식상당 와이나 아니 얘기는 탐지기 싸워디 뉴무인바디 샘래야 라트야지다 네번 예진 그랬어. 다 디용바이나 디다 아니 뉴무 반대가 삼로디 아니 교보 테마타도 뉴무 반대가 삼로 뉴무 빵발이야 아니 준비 아니 존지디 다 용거여라서 딘자 덴시 삼로디 아니 간주 가드이나 니마 딱바 고야지 로 덴시 삼로디 토니 아니 뉴무 반대가 로디 아니 슈크체르 땅야 아니 니무 빵발을 준비 다 준줄을 소바 디체도 아니 수준 송야 진보 땅야 아니 지 소바 공야라 소바 상무 상마 슈크체르 땅야기 탑시 지 여바디 아니 덴시 내루래야 상무 땅야 딘사레스.
So in order to cultivate the intention to eliminate afflictive emotions, we must constantly reflect upon the Four Noble Truth. The more we deepen our understanding of the Four Noble Truth, the more we will understand how crucial it is to eliminate afflictive emotions and how urgently we need to eliminate them. So that sense of urgency and that sense of necessity to afflictive emotions really comes from reflecting on the Four Noble Truth. So therefore, we must reflect on Four Noble Truth on the daily basis.
The 2 US.
Now, if you have
not those that's right.
So I've kind of shared all of my thoughts. Now, if you have any other questions.
Yeah.
This might be very silly, but what is the vulnerable truth? Do you know?
What is the
What is the
Never should
form
cut
of
it
truth?
Four Noble Truth, right? 어르시긴 아니 지워디데스 잡중로 통살에 돼 있는 데마시디 가는 이퀄 직송로지스.
Kichiji did it, Can I volunteer? You are volunteer? No. Kichiji is that Nanzu is that Sanji Jomden the Toma Sangin, Dujalama, and the Dujitan the Sangiver, some jing to the Sangini, and some jing ten Zeondi, and Chilak Chadamazun, so Modric, the Demashi the Chagoris.
So a Four Noble Truth is a very important kind of concept that we should all understand. For instance, Buddha attained enlightenment for the benefit of other sentient beings, and after attaining enlightenment, um, the way to benefit other is also through teaching about Four Noble Truths.
There's a Demba Tambu di Dunghar Demba. A Jadang Anzul Layata Mundeba Samal the Dunghar Redosra. Ani Dunghar Ani di Gu, ya, di Gudelia, Kunjun Demba Segores. Dunghar di Gujilatani Chombanza, Gu only Gu Tartubatelia, Ani Kunjun Demba Segores. Inza Dunghar di Pa Zawani Meva Sogona, Zawa Guni Pa Kagoremato, Ani Dunga Giji Gu Chanzang Giovana, Ani Jebu Dunga, Ani Gud Mangoban, Jebu Dunga Goya, Tabshi Meva Inza, Ani Gud Pan Gobe, Gorbatelia, Ani Gobi Demba Segores. Dindri Gobi Demba di Dunga Gun Gob Goya Yona, Tab Kandajilatin Gogorezagi, Tab Gioras, Tab Lam Sena Tab di Telaya Lamgi Demba Segres. The Dindri Tone, the Demba Shingotriores.
Yes. So the first first noble truth is known as the truth of suffering. This talks about the many unwanted things that we encounter in our life and many sufferings that we face in our life. So if you want to get rid of the sufferings, get rid of the things that we encounter in life, then the best way to eliminate such unwanted suffering is really to eliminate its cause, which is the truth of the origin, which is the second noble truth. So the first one is the truth of suffering. And if we want to get rid of the sufferings, we must uproot its cause. We must eliminate its cause or origin. So without eliminating the origin, how much kind of effort we make, we won't be able to eliminate the suffering that we don't want. So the idea is that if you don't want the suffering, we must eliminate its origin or its cause, which is the second noble truth. And now the third one is known as the truth of cessation. So it talks about the possibility of eliminating the unwanted suffering. There is a kind of state where we're completely freed from all the unwanted suffering. So now the question is, if we wanted that cessation, how can we achieve that? Now, in order to achieve that, we must kind of practice the path, which is the fourth noble truth. So the third one is the truth of cessation, and the fourth one is the truth of the path. So the truth of path is again the causes for attaining that cessation. So if we want to attain the cessation, we must do so by cultivating its cause. So in this, the first one is the truth of suffering, followed by truth of origin, and the third one is the truth of cessation, and the fourth one is the truth of path.
Chidang anzo ta lo chunjung kalaya, lo shunshun kalaya, ani dungar sheta tangwenzen ro chetukumudara. Lakdun de chik kega na chik dungar sayadi samlu korumudada. ngara nyamnyong ro shewarada. Ta loya ta shibchu shenga, ta ngabchu nga nga tu slewandi ge, ani sukbo dipe di tuksa me gyurochi, te chik chaban lamsang kolaya gyön shode gyurochi. Rawan kyun mebi toni chik, ani karsawa ta chik chamanti wachik, sukbu nedandala ya. Ra dini ani tartu na nganzu mundu shendu, ani shigoyaji yungu deba me shendu, rama me shendu shigoyaji, rama me shendu nayaji. Ani 다가나시 게 라온 메신도 아니 간주 깨월렘바치 간주 통구요 말마도 소르요 말마도 디운 거레스 딘지기 지 라온 메베톤이 깨가 나지 동을 용야디 규칼 투버레스 칼덴이 총버레스 디케지 디쳐고다라 간주 뒤지기 추 간다지네 간주 미 통데 암조 코데 루그레 유규 뒤지기 추 간다지면 그 규데 깬질된 정구여바디 간주 고섬 통거라 데 나신기 안주 초와 둥가 있는다. 아니 제가 나주 둥가 가리 임바이네야. 뒤시 가리 임바이네야. 귤 때니 용구요레스. 디 규토라야 안주 제주 첸데 튀었다나. 땅 외봐. 땅 바이나 편도 요요. 딘디 진거다 이러.
Yes. So when we are young, it might be slightly difficult to understand the sufferings that we are discussing here, particularly the suffering of what is known as the suffering of birth, aging, sickness, death, and so on and so forth. It might be slightly difficult to kind of relate to that when we are young, but as we get older, particularly when you're more than 45 or 50s, when you reach that stage, then the concept of suffering of aging and so on and so forth will become more relatable to you, because now your body is not as strong and as healthy as before, and you will realize that you're more kind of prone to illness, and your body starts to become even more fragile. And then through these experiences, we will be able to kind of relate to these sufferings. And not only that, ultimately we have to even die without any choice, and we go through many sicknesses without any choice, and then regardless of whether we know it or not, it's a different case, but we have to die and we have to take rebirth without any choice. So all of these happen against our kind of choice or against our will. Now, in this regard, you can ask why this is happening. What is the cause of that? Why we are going through this complicated process of aging, birth, dying, and so on and so forth. So all the conditioned things come about from its causes and conditions. So therefore, we must constantly ask ourselves why this process is happening.
로야 첨부자디 zugbin gyuwadi tang shu tsortugoda nyungudo asra. Lo shunjun kolada nyungmuda tang nga ngima chikdong gubje gubchu kodrug lola. Chikdong gubje gubchu kodrug lola tang nga lo sumju ma sumsumchi nyush tsadanchi resra. Kab dhudi nga gen rumuchi nyam dharam salaya jawa rumuchi sonju shiwa drogo res. 다람사기 여기 줄라칸마 시리파칸 와도 킬로미터 찍여래.
세진 맞지 세진지로게.
어제 nga pigi songju chuzo nga da chega songju chuba da gen sumshala dendri shu soja nga gyuksha lani shirik pa kan rugu ya mi benzo kan la gyuksha lani rugu ya da ani migi ki tep rugu da chik lamsa gyokpo chini yi ya zula kan lana kali zao ni kame nga gen kyo dendri gyokpo chi khanda chile su nga dendri labnyo yoro songyo yoro zao nin kali chiye sorwa chiye me da 다 단다 저번에 깔리 쇼다다 파라파라라 나선이 용고 어 딘지 교도다스라 딘지 교도다 당한주 딘 통고야 말다 딘 교와디 그 추츠 세긴 깔차 닌 교도고요 마도 디 호브드 칼린 교도 주지 말아와스라 다 딘지 니룩 망부 쇼지 안주 단다 몽데요레스라 몽데요레스 임바이나 니룩 또야기 니바디 니룩 또 토야기 니바디 안줄이 요레스 남주 셀딩 안줄이 요레스라 tirda di jangbaina din thongorda din thongbaina lo kuyang dorda lo kuyang dorda karina donlen che thungi mij cha dores din degiris da di degiris ro sem ge deva diris da
So when we are young, it might be slightly difficult to relate to the sufferings of aging and so on and so forth, particularly the sufferings that we discussed earlier. For instance, in 1996, around that time, I was around my late 20s, and during that time, I would usually go to Dharamshala to attend teachings by His Holiness with my teacher. And as soon as the teaching is over, I would immediately escort my teacher to his residence, and then I would immediately walk from the temple down to the library. So maybe a few kilometers of distance through the hilly areas. I would immediately rush to the library and kind of, buy the books which I need, and immediately come back coming through the mountains. And I never felt even tired during those days. And sometimes my teacher would ask me, how can you come so quickly? So that time I never felt tired. But if I were to go and come back in that short distance, it's almost near to impossible. I have to take rest again and again. So this indicates how much changes our body goes through. So all this, now it seems it's a big change, but these changes really come within moment to moment. Our body is constantly going through this change, and this subtle kind of realization, it's difficult to kind of immediately understand this subtle change. Right now, we might not be aware of this fact, this reality, but we definitely have the ability to fathom this fact. So once we understand the deeper meanings of the life or these facts, then it will kind of open our mind. Our mind will become more wide, more open, and through this, we will also become more kind of happier as a person.
no
Oh, Titola, Lamala, Sangila. I just really wanted to ask because every day Buddha makes me cry because of his teachings, and I have so I have so much reverence, and that's why I want to do the mandala properly. So Can you please show us how do I do it? Because I want to do it properly. Yeah. So that's why I wanted to ask you how, because I know I truly feel I'll be doing this mandala every day for the rest of my life. And I just want to just know how to do it and to know the meanings properly, the long mandala, everything. Like, because I feel like there's a lot of meaning in the long mandala too. Um, you know, like I feel like it's showing the whole system of the universe, and I feel like there is, like in all Buddhist teachings, there is so much depth in everything. I just know there will be so much in there too, and I just want to know. And I want to know all these mudras because I just make up myself. Because I visualize it in my mind and I try to visualize the most beautiful offering that I can give. So I visualize and I do it myself. But I just want to know, because if it's coming from the Buddha and the lineage masters and the past students, I know if they decided on a mudra, I'm sure there will be a really profound teaching and the shape and everything. So
tanda tiwa di sung duke, tani ta yunde moran ta kaadar sanji ki sung ta lobchung chiwe kaabla nima nima ko tepa shivji yung jik dusra. Andi tepa ki tangche, ni chik yang choba piya re, mikse ki tangan mende piya chora, dila piya tangwa chimpu lik dus mende piya ki deba. Di piya kaabla ta rirab ta lingshi lingti tsangwa ching meba chin piya ki dindik samlu piya chimpu yasares. Ini yang ta moran di mende jeba di ki tuanda re, ani di pibi kabla lu ki chacha chidang duzu takta shingi mendus. Ani jisa mende jeba ki tuanda da, ani lu ki chacha chidang di kandi ime di ngema jibu tamba di zuki suyin za, tuanda dende kishimbo ijire, di chik tuandro chis.
Yeah, okay. One day, one day I can teach you. Ra, tanda nganzi kala sadro.
Yes.
Kyanangi, ta yabu peres, di yabu peres ra. Di yabu peres. Tebi kone lani, ta chik sosula mewa ina ya. Ani, ik truni, ani choba puya di yang taba res. Di yang digo res. Ini yana, chik tsundanda di chik, ani, samalo nganzi nima chikla, ani kyalantaba dede yanza nganzi kami yungurwas ra, tiri ran sarguas kiyo maras.
Yes. So it's truly commendable that you have kind of deep reverence and would like to make the mandala offerings. And since you are here in the center, maybe we can kind of talk about the meaning of the long mandala and mudras some other time, since today we have to break for the lunch.
Final Amrim prayer. From my 2 types of merits vasa space that I have amassed from working with effort at this practice for a grand length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose minds' wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all lives, Manjushri. May I find the best of complete graded paths of the teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by my practice. Using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion, may I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings with the points of the path as I have discerned them. may uphold the Buddha's teachings for a very long time. With my heart going out with great compassion in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread or once spread have declined, may I reveal this treasure of happiness and aid. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted boundless peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time. By even this graded path to enlightenment completed, due to the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their sons. May all human and non-human beings who eliminate adversity and create conducive conditions for practicing the excellent paths never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path praised by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with the tenfold Mahayana virtues practices, may he always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere. Pray for the long life of His Holiness the Dalai Lama. Incomparably kind and supreme Tenzin Gyatso, the wish-granting, wish-fulfilling jewel, source of every single benefit and happiness in this world, may you have a long life and all your holy wishes be spontaneously fulfilled. And pray for the swift return of Lama Zopa Rinpoche. Fearless teacher and assembly of the children of the victorious ones, Shravakas and Pratyeka Buddhas, victorious Losang father and sons, along with the lineage masters, all the objects of refuge of infinite lands, please bestow the virtue and goodness of accomplishing this prayer here and now, holding and spreading the Muni's precious and complete teachings through explanation and practice. You wore the armor of patience that is never discouraged. Incomparable venerable Guru, to you I make request. While striving single-pointedly for the sake of the victorious one's teachings, the sole gateway through which all benefit and happiness emerge, and for mother living beings, you suddenly departed to peace. What a great loss! Nevertheless, through the undeceiving truth of the blessings of the ocean of the three jewels, and the great waves of bodhicitta of the children of the victorious ones, may the smile of a reincarnation swiftly beam in a glory for fortunate disciples. Thank you very much. And for those who would like to join the meditation, it will be at 1:15 in the Gompa with Venerable Tony. Thank you.